cold email reply rates just crashed from 8.5 to under 3.5. But here's the thing that should scare you. The teams that are still doing it the old way are burning through their domain, whilst the ones that are getting it right have reply rates of more than 6 times the average. That's what we're going to talk about in today's episode of InboundBuzz.
Yeah, welcome to InboundBuzz, Moby. How are you tracking?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
Looking forward to chatting, and yeah, doing really well. We're going to be talking about outbound today in a little bit more depth and how really we've seen a massive decline occur. 2019 was the heyday, over 8.5%, and gradually over time continues to decay to now, depending on what industry you're in, 3.5 to under 3%.
Or even less. I mean, that's probably an aggregate of some of the ones that are doing it better.
Very optimistic number.
But yeah.
So we want to talk about how all of this is affecting the entire realm when it comes to outbound reach. And we've started to see larger providers even blocking a lot of those blasts that you would do. So it makes it really difficult for people who are focusing on outbound as a pure source of lead gen to be able to get traction, especially if they haven't changed their playbook in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So we love being very practical here. We don't like being fluffy. So let's get really practical. And I also want to share some examples with everyone watching today. Here's the thing. Like, I know it's a bit clickbaity, but every time something is dead, like these things just keep dying, but they don't, right? Like the brands that are doing this well have like 6-7 times the average reply rates, open rates, and it's not a secret. There is a bit of a formula. So we'll talk through some of the things. And in this podcast, I also want to share an actual example of one that I think is really, really good from an outbound email perspective. The first shift is the idea that you shift to signals, right? So think about signal-based outbound. And then just if you're listening to this, get the idea through your head. We'll talk about how to make it happen, because you might be first like, yeah, but how do you do this? How do you do this? We'll get to that. What am I talking about? So triggers like funding, hiring, tech adoption. I have a little bit of love-hate relationship with this. So what am I talking about? So imagine an outbound strategy where it's based on a signal. And that signal might be, okay, cool, this business has funding. Great. This business is hiring a bunch of people in this area. Great. This people is using this technology. But what do you do if none of those things apply to you, right? That's my love-hate relationship part. So the love part is if you're in an industry that's adjacent to that. And to be honest with you, don't just count that out. You're like, oh, I'm not in tech, so that doesn't, bother me. But
still applicable.
Maybe it does. Say you're in ERP land, right? And say, someone adopts HubSpot or a CRM. That's still important to you if you're an ERP business, because you're like, oh, well, they might need to integrate with something. Or that still might be important if you're in the education space and you're targeting other RTOs, because I know now we're starting to draw, trying to stretch it here, but don't just cut those off because they don't seem industry adjacent to you. Think about what triggers you can pick up on. So every industry is going to be a little different. If there's any key industry changes, if there's any funding announcements, if there's, for example, in the solar industry, the government announced, depending on when you listen to this rebate versus that rebate versus battery rebate. So you can look at some signals or triggers there. But your thoughts on that, Brendan?
Yeah, there's a fair bit of nuance you can look at in terms of how that applies, but really it comes down to you don't want to be using outbound as its own solo, siloed sort of structure. You really want it to be integrated with other systems, because when you have that signal-based targeting, you typically are increasing the interaction rates by about 2.8x, which is a pretty massive difference. Yeah. And with that kind of support, you can then have all of those sections, bit of a cascade on effect. They will then be more engaged, and that can lead to more points of you getting in touch with them through that outbound lens.
Yeah, and I actually I missed one. I want to go back to one of those triggers that actually does apply for many, I don't want to say most B2B, but many B2B. But to that point, signal triggered outreach tied to a real trigger gets 5 to 18% reply rates versus 1 to 3. The one I skipped over too fast was hiring. Hiring in the B2B space will cover many industries. So if I just think, so later I'm going to talk about an example for a business targeting IT professionals, right? IT professionals. So there could be MSP, they could be anything else, right? Anything related with IT professionals. I clearly don't know them. But hiring, right? If you know there's an IT professional like has been placed or someone just got a new job, you can do that. That's it's very like possible, very possible. It's been possible for years. Whatever the title that you target, you can look for shifts when a business replaces that, a new person comes on, when they're hiring for that role, you can do that. So that works for a lot of, I won't say every single B2B because I can't think of them all in my head, but I'd say many B2B spaces, that hiring-based trigger will definitely work.
Absolutely. It's tactical, right? So you're going less spray and pray, and it's a bit more of like a sniper where you're looking at the exact thing that's going to be valuable for the type of people you're reaching out to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about the next tactic, right? And this does work for anyone who can do outbound. And that's the idea of the multi-channel strategy. So the first thing I'm going to share an example. I'm just going to read it out in case, someone just listening to this. I'll just read it out and then I'll talk about what they did right compared to what they did wrong. So this is a cybersecurity business targeting business owners and IT leads, right? So this fell into my inbox because I'm a CEO. It would also fall into an IT or IT manager or whatever, their inbox, right? So it goes like this. Hi, Moby. I'm hosting a small cybersecurity session in Sydney for business owners and IT leads in the marketing and advertising industry. Cool. We'll get back to that. The session is about practical gaps I often see in growing Australian businesses: offboarding, employee-owned devices, Microsoft 365 access, and a couple of other things. There is no cost to attend. I'm keeping the group small so the discussion stays useful. Would you like me to hold a spot for you? What stood out to you there? And also you have seen people being onboarded and offboarded at Red Pandas, right? Why was that email good for you in your mind?
For me, that was incredibly good because it really talks about why they're reaching out. You're not just, hey, you're number 4 on the list. I just want to reach out to you. Tell me if you're interested in generic spiel. It really felt like they understood you. They understood
what's in it for me. Yeah. This is what's in it for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because of that, your engagement with the content doesn't feel like, oh, I'm one of many. It feels like, oh, you've actually looked at Red Pandas. You've understood my nuance. Yeah, I am doing this. And your brain kind of starts to fill in those gaps. And it goes like, oh yeah, I kind of am doing that thing, whether it was the person's intent or not. You then lean forward and you resonate even more in terms of the messaging that comes through. So that the conversation that they're going to have with you is going to be very different.
Well, right away, it's going to connect, right? So business owners, sure, whatever, that's not strong enough in the marketing and industry space. Okay, so if I attend this thing, it's live as well, which I want to get back to that in a second. If I attend this thing, this is actually targeted to people like me, right? And then they've listed actual pain points that we actually have. And we've actually had at Red Pandas, like onboarding and offboarding. Mm-hmm. When people come onboarding, offboarding, like getting them onto systems and getting like antivirus installed, employee-owned devices, that comes up. Sometimes people want their own devices, blah, 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 right? Even the fact that Microsoft's 365 access. Now, because we know the space, this email could have been completely generated by AI. Completely generated. Like the fact that, okay, cool, they're in this space. I'm going to mention. Now, the event probably is for marketing and advertising space, right? And that's what actually makes it good. It is targeted to my industry. But they could have easily swapped out Microsoft 365 with Google, Workspace, whatever. Now, this talks about the point that I just made before, multi-channel. This is multiple channels in delivery. So this is an event. It's actually an in-person event, and there's something of value for me. This works really, really well. Events, as a side note, are one of the highest yielding ROI tactics you can do this year, because there's so much work that's involved, and it's so easy to give people value because there's work other people, your competitors, don't want to do it. Absolutely. Right? Now, here's where they messed up, right? Great email. He then sent me a series of a couple of other emails with a very, very decent cadence, right? The next one was a bit shorter. It's designed to be practical rather than technical. He knows most leaders are probably not very technical. The next one, the final one, was I'm finalizing the Sydney session this week. It's a small group. I wanted to see if IT security is something you're reviewing. Should I save a spot? Where he messed up is I never got a phone call. I never got a phone call. I never got reached out on LinkedIn. It didn't come through on contact form. I once gave someone a job because he emailed me, right? He couldn't find my mobile number. You can do that a lot easier now. He emailed me. He called out Switch. He LinkedIn messaged me, and he did something else. Came to the contact form.
Right.
It's actually Luca's friend. Luca's friend. So I gave him a call. I'm like, hey man, like, so he actually was looking for a role that we didn't have at the time. I'm like, look, your hustle is the hustle. I'm looking for a sales rep. Do you want to do sales for us for a while? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So like that's the thing they meant. The strategy was great, targeted to the persona, targeted to my pain points, sector rotation. So they're going after a sector at a time, valuable, but he stopped at one channel. In 2026 and beyond, if that's what you're doing, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough. It doesn't cut it. There's too much noise out there. You have to pepper people until they say hell yes or F off.
100%. Agreed. I think it really comes down to, in that, even when you do have the outreach via email, you have to look at even nurturing, and that has to be combined with outreach, where it's like, okay, someone's shown me a buying signal, something isn't ideal. I'm now going to get my outreach engine to call them and call them and call them. But then if that's not supplemented to maybe remarketing ads on Meta or LinkedIn, depending on the kind of person you're reaching out to, then when you do get in touch with them, they're like, oh yeah, I've been seeing your ads all over the place. Oh, have you? And you can almost play into the fact that that is by chance, but it is very much by design. And you're building that equity. It's sort of psychology. Just by exposure therapy, they see you more. They associate that, oh, maybe you're a bigger deal than I gave you credit for.
So let's talk about like how to actually make this happen. We'll share, I think, 2-3 tips how to make this happen. So there is a concept known as warm cold outreach. I don't know if that's the technical term. I'm just going to call it that, warm cold outreach. So how does warm cold outreach work? If you have a tool like HubSpot's buyer intent tool, what that will do is every day or every week give you a list of all the companies that visited your website. Then, depending on the tool, there's a bunch of tools out there. How HubSpot works is you can set it up with a profile. You can say, okay, cool, these are my commercial terms. So we sell HubSpot optimization, we sell paid media. You load it up with all the terms that are commercial terms for you, as well as some triggers like pages. This is why content on your website is so important, because you have more fodder, more fuel for the fire type of thing. Then what it will do is it will give you a list of all the companies, but it also will give you a smaller list of companies that it thinks have buyer intent. That's why it's called the buyer intent tool. So I'll give you an example. So on a slow week, we will get 15 businesses that fall into the buyer intent tool. Doesn't sound like much, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. 15 companies. These companies have buyer, and we're a B2B, right? So it's not like we have to make 20 sales a day. Here are all the companies that visited commercial relevant pages or showed commercial interest. Then what we do is we also have Firmable, right? So Firmable is very useful in Australia. There's other things like Lusher and all these other tools out there. You can do this with Clay. But Firmable, you can find people's phone numbers and email addresses. So then what we've done is we've created a system where that list then goes into Firmable. Firmable finds 4 contacts per company, and then it syncs their email address and phone number into HubSpot. That lands on a list. And our head of sales looks at that list every Monday. He spends about half an hour because yes, there's some that he doesn't want to talk to. There might be competitors, something that might have fallen through the cracks, right? But we're getting better at filtering. And then he organizes his prospecting for the week. That is pretty basic. Now, by the way, I do think it's actually not a bad idea if you have the money and the team to engage someone who does this for you. We have no horse in the game. We don't offer this for anyone. We don't do this email outbound strategy for anyone. We do it ourselves, but we don't offer it as a service. I think it's a good idea to look at those people. Now, before you even do that, you can do some of this stuff in-house, right? There are other tools out there. But yeah, that's probably my like just how we do it, and how a tip in terms of looking at a tool like HubSpot's buyer intent tool or some other, there are a bunch of tools out there that I'm not familiar with. You can actually do it that way. But your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think right now what's happening is, we've spoken about this before, the buyer intent in general has shifted to research first. So you have to work within that new framework and make sure that you're a checkpoint in that process of research. And at various checkpoints, you then proactively reach out, adding value as opposed to making it feel generic. It has to be tailored. And that's how you get runs on the board.
Yeah. And it's like, think about, okay, you're just going, if you have 20 people or 20 businesses or whatever number is right for your business to target, you could just find general people in an industry. And that's also a very good idea to go after industries at a time. Or base your list of people onto your website. Which ones are going to hit more? So the only other, I think the final tip we want to give in terms of like how you can actually do this, there are other tools out there. HubSpot also has a prospecting agent where it will use AI to create different emails per person, and you can create a buying profile. So if I was this business, maybe they used it, right? Maybe that's what they actually did. Where they're like, okay, we want to create a buying profile for marketing agencies. Great. This is the stuff that they deal with. Here are their pain points. They load all of that up into the prospecting agent. And then the prospecting agent, then they could upload a spreadsheet or upload a list of people that you can get from a whole bunch of sources, right? Then what prospecting agent will do, each of those people, it will draft a unique email to each of those people. So very easy, very tactical way. Yes, you could probably build something with Claude yourself, but anybody got time for that. So that's a really good low friction way to get started and dip your toe in the water. But I might pass it over to you for final thoughts and comments before we wrap this up.
I think we covered a lot today. It just really comes down to being intentional at the end of the day. Don't just treat this as a once-off. Keep it really siloed. Have it work with the other parts of your business and you'll see the most fruit.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks, Moby.
Thanks for listening to InboundBuzz. Learn anything? Return the favor by spreading the word. Want to make your mark in digital? Need help with your digital strategy, inbound, and marketing automation efforts? Then visit redpandas.com.au and be sure to tune in next time for another InboundBuzz hit.